Your name for me.
Cody Smith.
Is it Cody or Dakota?
Technically Dakota.
So some of the questions I'm going to ask you are about millennials. But first I know, I had to pick a group that I don't have much contact with.
Well, you picked a good one.
Yeah, no kidding. But first I want you to tell me a little bit about your background. How old are you?
I'm 23.
Where were you born?
Charleston, South Carolina.
Do you know how you got your name?
My grandmother picked it out.
Why?
I don't know, because you guys couldn't tell if I was a guy or a girl, so you wanted a gender-neutral name.
Yep, that was pretty much it. What do you remember about your grandparents?
Not a lot. I didn't really see any of them that often.
You don't remember much about Mimi?
She went crazy. She used to do conversion therapy.
And Peppy?
He's a football coach, and he taught at the high school that I went to. He ran a lot.
Nana?
Thrift stores.
That's what you remember about Nana.
That and cigarettes.
That's cigarettes. Yeah. That's. So, how many brothers and sisters do you have?
Too many. 3 sisters and 1 brother.
You're ridiculous. Do you know how you got your middle name?
Because it's my aunt's middle name, and she's the 4th girl, and I'm the 4th girl.
You do know. Wow.
Yeah.
How many nieces and nephews do you have?
6 currently, almost 7.
Tell me a little bit about your childhood. Where did you go to school? Where did you live?
I lived in the house that you're currently interviewing me in. I went to Overland Park Elementary for my entire elementary school. I went to Westridge Middle School. I don't know, what else do you want to know?
High school?
Shawnee Mission West.
Was it fun? Any of it?
I mean, yeah, I liked the electives that I took in high school because I was in all kinds of music and theater and writing classes.
Tell me, what does being a millennial mean to you?
It means that anyone who's not a millennial has nothing but bad things to say about millennials, and everybody thinks we're these crazy idealists who simultaneously want the world to be a better place and to die. I don't know.
What do you think when people call you a millennial?
I think that they usually mean it as an insult. For the most part.
What do you think about millennials? What do you think it means?
I think it's a really broad generation because, I mean, it encompasses everybody from Stevie, who is 11 years older than me, to Zach, who is 2 years younger than me. And there's just such a wide range of differences in the way we grew up and things that, I don't know, it's just really bizarre. But essentially, I think it means that it's people who, for the most part, don't agree with what the generations before us have done, so we're trying to do things differently.
Would you say that's different than generations before?
No. I'm sure every generation thinks that their generation is going to do things differently.
The millennials remind me a lot about Generation X. Do you know anything about Generation X?
Aren't you Gen X?
I am.
Because I know that Dad thinks it's not that funny because he's a baby boomer. But, I mean, what I know of Gen X is, like, they were considered more radical, I guess, than the baby boomers.
Just asking. What was it like for you growing up with politically active parents?
I mean, you weren't really politically active when I was growing up. Not as much, anyway. It didn't really happen until I got older. And then I used to agree with a lot of what you guys said just because I didn't branch out on my own to see what else was out there. But now I have my own thoughts and feelings about things that are radically different from your guys's. So,
But isn't that the way your parents raised you?
to have my own thoughts, yeah.
So
I would
is
agree
that
with
bad?
No, I don't think it's a bad thing by any means. I'm definitely outspoken.
So if you could change any one thing growing up other than Kelsey, what would you change?
I have no idea. Any one thing?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
You don't know.
No.
Would you change anything?
Nothing that I can think of off the top of my head. I mean, it's not like things have always been 100% awesome, but for better or for worse, I am who I am because they've all happened.
Hey, you had good parents?
I guess. You guys were all right.
What do you see technology being in 10 years?
Essential. I mean, it's already essential. But I think it's going to totally eradicate anything that's not technology related just because it's become such a big thing in everybody's lives.
Where do you see phones being?
Like, what do they look like or what do they function as?
Both.
I don't know. They go through weird trends where they get bigger and then smaller and then bigger again. So I guess more of that. But the new iPhone is already reading facial features and things like that. So I guess it's going to just continue to turn into a Black Mirror type situation.
What do you see the internet being?
Again, essential, although it pretty much already is. It's just a plethora of information that anybody can access.
And television?
I mean, I guess that depends on what type of television you're talking about, because I could very easily see cable going away entirely, because most people my age don't have cable. But as far as like Netflix and Hulu, I mean, they're going to continue to thrive probably, because nobody has to watch commercials.
What about jobs in the future?
What do you mean?
What do you see future jobs being?
Mostly technological based, probably.
But what about the trades? There's been a big trend lately in trying to recruit more workers for the trades.
Yeah, because I think people have realized that they can still make really good money without having to get a college degree. So trade school is becoming popular again.
Well, I think part of it too is that we don't have enough plumbers and electricians.
True.
So do you see that changing?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to, like, just with schools in general, I would hope anyway that it's going to become a bigger thing that you don't have to go to college, so they emphasize more about trade schools and whatnot so kids actually know that they exist rather than finding out about it when you're already established as an adult.
So speaking of schools and trade schools and that, what do you think of the current education system?
Do you really want to ask that question?
Yes. As someone that graduated a few years ago, what do you think of the current education system?
I think it's entirely bogus.
Because?
I mean, it's test focused. It's not actually knowledge focused. They just want to get as much information in your head as they can and then test you on it. And then because you do it that way, you forget everything that you've learned because you only have to memorize it for the test. I don't think it's benefiting anybody because you're not actually learning, you're just memorizing. And I think that there's way too much pressure put on anybody who does remotely well in school to constantly be better, and because of that, you end up with people like me who don't want to go to college because they've had to do school their entire life, and it's awful.
So speaking about those really talented, smart kids, the trend has been to have like classes that are focused on a certain degree. Like at Shawnee Mission School District where you went, there's now a law enforcement area, there's a lawyer area, there's a medical area. Do you think that that's important, or do you think, because you were one of those gifted kids that kind of got lost, you became bored and stuff, do you think that's a good thing, or do you think that as a teenager that puts way too much pressure on a kid and those should be saved for college?
I mean, I get introducing those kinds of things in high school, again, just so kids can know what's out there, but I don't think that it's a good idea to say, like, if this is what you want to do, these are the classes you have to take. Because if you take one of those classes and then you're not good at them, somebody like me, my first thought would be, well, then I can't do this. Because, I mean, I get that it's trying to be helpful and showing the information you need to know, but again, test-based academics don't actually indicate what you're capable of doing, so I don't think it's helpful in that regard.
What about the trend of taking like driver's ed and home ec and basic life necessities out of high school? Do you think those should be brought back?
I wish somebody had taught me things like, I mean, there's an app for how to do my taxes, so that's not really that much of a challenge, but like, I wish I had learned things like how to change my oil and whatnot, because I feel like that would be way more beneficial than taking pre-calculus.
So with those things, when I was in high school, they did have like auto tech and home ec where you learn those basics.
I took food classes in middle school.
But like basic life essentials, do you think those were?
No, I don't think school actually prepares you how to be an adult at all.
How would you change that?
By teaching relevant information rather than information that somebody decided that every junior in high school needs to know.
So do you think you will run for office one day, Ben?
No. No. Not
to change those things?
Not while it's filled with 50 and above year olds, because nothing's going to change while people who are more than twice my age are in charge.
So do you think then someone your age should run to help?
I mean, I think people now are, but I also think that millennials have realized as a whole that no big changes can happen while the current generation is still in office, because they're not willing to change and they're not willing to hear us out.
That's all I have. Is there anything you want to add?
No, but you got to do another 9 minutes.
No. Up to 20.
Oh, I thought it said at least 20.
No.
Oh. No.